Hello everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood Moshi, and welcome back to another Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Guide. In this guide, I'm actually going to be going over two characters, because the second character is actually tied to the first, being their Echo Fighter. I'm going to be going over Marth, and I'm going to be going over Lucina. Now, all of their moves are the exact same, the only differences between them are their properties. So I'm going to be going over all of their moves using Marth, and then after I do that and give my overall opinion of Marth, I will switch off to Lucina and show what she has that makes her different from Marth. So, with that being said, let's get into Marth. Now, Marth and Lucina, in this guide, I'm basically going to be talking about them interchangeably because they're not different enough from each other where I would make a statement that, one is significantly better than the other. I will preface this by saying that I think that Lucina is a little bit better than Marth, just because she's not tied to... Well, this will actually make more sense when I explain what Marth has that Lucina doesn't, and vice versa. So first, let's get into their moves. We'll start off with their jab, as I always do. Marth's jab is a simple 1-2 hit combo. The purpose of this is just to snuff out people's options. Now, in Smash 4, you could actually cancel the first hit of his jab into other attacks. You can't do that anymore, but his jab is still a very good quick option to throw out to stop your opponent from using their options. Kind of like how I said that Isabelle's jab is good to just snuff out your opponent's options, Marth's works in a very similar manner. Although, in retrospect, that's what a lot of jabs are like. But I digress. Onto his tilts. Marth's down tilt, very good for spacing. Very good for people that just don't respect your zone. And it's also good for edge guarding, if you can catch that 2-frame for someone hanging at the ledge. Or just trying to pressure people coming up from the ledge to begin with. His up tilt, good for juggling, getting people up into the air. Actually combos into itself near mid percents. Actually, at low percents too. Forward tilt. Again, standard forward tilt. You won't really be seeing that many super special forward tilts until we get into those people of the cast. But it's a standard forward tilt, good for spacing, good for getting your opponent away from you. On to smash attacks. Smash attack, forward smash, standard overhead slash. A very good kill option for both Marth and Lucina. Up smash, he thrusts the sword straight into the sky. Very good if you can hit the sweet spot of it, which is the sword itself. But if you're standing next to someone, you actually will, thrust them up into the air as well. So that's important to remember. You actually do more damage if you hit when you're standing next to them. Down smash, good for covering rolls. Most of the sword characters are very similar in the purpose that their attacks serve. Sword characters in general are just good at covering a lot of options just because they have their sword. So let's say, for example, if someone were to throw out an attack against me, and I throw out one of my attacks, if my sword hits them and they don't hit me, just the sword, then I'm at an advantage there, because my hurt box, which is, where the character actually takes damage, is only my body. Marth's sword, if you hit that, you're not going to actually deal damage to Marth. That's the biggest advantage that sword characters have in Ultimate, is that they have a lot of disjointed hitboxes. What a disjointed hitbox is a hitbox on an attack that isn't actually connected to your body. So swinging my sword with my forward tilt, if they hit my sword, they're not actually hitting me, which is very good for sword characters. Onto their aerials, Marth's aerial, which is also Lucina's aerials. Neutral air, very good out of a short hop. One of their best moves, undoubtedly. Good for edge guarding, good for starting combos. Just a very good aerial all around. You can also... Excuse me, computer. You can also, instead of just short hopping with it, you can short hop first, then use your neutral air and fast fall with it, so you get the first hit, which actually does lead into quite a few combos. It's one of the trickier aspects of playing the sword characters, which is something I'll go over more in depth when I do an in-depth guide for them. Down air, very strong spike, if you can land the spike hitbox for it, which is a lot easier to do now than it was in any of the other games. I mained Marth in Brawl, but I dropped him in Smash 4, so because of that I'm pretty rusty when it comes to landing the spike. Forward air is, again, one of Marth and Lucina's best moves. Big, juicy, disjointed hitbox, good for edge guarding, just good for combos. It's good all around. It's a very good forward air. Like, I'd even put it up there with as one of the best forward airs in the game. You'll notice that all the sword characters pretty much have a forward air like this, something that they can throw out in front of them that's good for spacing. Another thing that you'll notice is that, as I've said plenty of times before, if you press jump and attack, you'll automatically do a short hop attack. And what you see me doing here is that I'm kind of doing a retreating forward air. Instead of just moving completely forward with it, I'm moving back with it. I'll short hop forward and use the forward air, but move back with it. This is very good and very safe against people that are shielding, which is actually a weakness that I'll get into later about sword characters. Up air. Standard juggling tool. You can get someone up in the air, start juggling with their up air. And very similar to their neutral air, you can fast fall with it, and it actually starts combos. Back air, similar to forward air in how you're going to be using it. Very strong for edge guarding, and it's actually a very potent kill option that Marth and Lucina both have. So that's all their aerials. Now to their grab. They actually have a very good pummel in a grab. I like it a lot. Back throw. Now, none of their throws are kill throws, mind you. Their throws are mainly to set up edge guards and put your opponent in unfortunate situations. So forward throw, standard, get your opponent off the stage. Back throw, very similar to forward throw. Down throw can lead into combos. Usually, you're going to be leading into it with your back air. Up throw to get someone into the air. And that's pretty much it for their grabs. Nothing super special. Now, their specials. First, we have Shield Breaker, their neutral special. If you're wondering why I'm saying there, it's because when I'm talking about Marth's moves, as I said before, I'm also talking about Lucina's. All of their attacks are the same. The only difference are their properties, which I will explain later when I get to Lucina. Let me see if I can make Mega Man Shield here. Okay, I can't, unfortunately. So the neutral special Shield Breaker, you can hold it to charge it up, and the longer you charge it, obviously the more damage you'll do. Fully charged does 26.4% damage. Not charged, it just does that. However, the interesting thing about Shield Breaker is that it does massive amounts of shield damage. If you even halfway charge this, it will immediately break a shield. So it's very good against people that like shielding a lot. Oh wait, he had already taken damage. I thought he was at 0% when I hit him with that. Forward special is Dancing Blade, which is much easier to use now in Smash Ultimate. All you need to do is use your forward special, and while you're holding forward, just keep mashing B, and you'll perform Dancing Blade. It's fast, it's quick, it actually does quite a bit of shield damage, and it's an overall good attack. However, what some people don't know about Dancing Blade is that you can actually angle it. After using your forward special, you can hold up or down, and you'll do different attacks. So I can actually hold up afterwards, and I'll do a series of slashes that are blue and send the opponent up. So that can start leading to some juggles. If I hold down, you'll see some green slashes. You can only hold down after the second hit of Dancing Blade, so 1, 2. Then I can hold down. And if you hold down on the last one, it'll be a multi-hit stab attack. That's actually the most damaging part of Dancing Blade, because that's 24 damage, as opposed to the forward version, which is only 14, and the up version, which is 15. Because of all the multiple stabs, and you'll do a lot more damage. So if you're looking to attack on damage, this is very good. The up special is Dolphin Slash. A very good recovery, actually, just because of how high it lets you go, and because of how immediately you snap to the ledge. Something else I've actually been neglecting to mention about up specials is that you'll notice sometimes you snap to the ledge, and sometimes you don't. You actually have complete control over that. If you hold, during your up special, if you hold down, you'll pass through the ledge. So I can actually go through the stage with my up special to hit someone that's close to the ledge. Let me actually push Mega Man closer. It's like if I just come to the ledge, I won't hit Mega Man. But if I hold down after using my up special, I will hit him. So for certain people's up specials, like Mario, is good for someone that's trying to edge guard you. It's a good way to stop them from pressuring you. And their down special is a counter. Almost every sword character in the game has a counter. There's only a few sword characters that don't have a counter as their down special. So it's good if you see an attack coming, you can use your counter to counter it. Very basic. So that's all of Marth and Lucina's attacks. Now, I'm going to explain what makes Marth and Lucina so different and why I think Lucina is slightly better than Marth. Now, I'm going to use my forward smash twice. and I'll explain what you notice that's different. Here's the first forward smash. I did 16.2%. This forward smash did 22.3%. Why is that? Marth has a mechanic where all of his sword attacks, which is pretty much all of his attacks, if you hit with the tip of his sword, you will deal more damage and knockback than if you were to just hit with anywhere else on his sword. So what does that mean for Marth? You're never going to be playing up front in your opponent's face like this, because that was nothing. You want to keep yourself at arm's length to get that juicy sweet spot. Like that. That's where Marth's strength lies. The tip of all his sword attacks have this effect. So all of his aerials, all of his ground-based attacks. So the tip of all of Marth's sword attacks, all of his grounded attacks, all of his aerial attacks, they all have a tipper to them. So you're never going to want to be right up close to your opponent as Marth. You're going to want to keep yourself just barely at distance so you can make sure you land those tippers. Now sometimes it's actually beneficial not to land the tipper just to get the weak hit, which can lead into a strong hit with certain combos. But for the most part, you're going to want to keep yourself just at arm's length. And even Dancing Blade has this tipper effect, as you can see there, which means it has quite a bit of range to it. Because up close, it's not going to deal that much, but if you keep yourself right at the perfect distance, you'll be dealing a lot more damage and a lot more knockback. So, having said that, what does Lucina have that Marth doesn't? It is exactly that. She does not have a tipper. Lucina does not have a tipper like Marth does. Lucina does the exact same damage and the exact same knockback across her entire sword. So, if I hit somebody with the tip of my sword as Lucina with my forward smash, it's going to do the exact same damage as if I were standing up close to them. And you'll actually notice because of that, Lucina does slightly more damage overall. I don't have to space myself with the tipper. Marth's forward smash tip, I think, did about, 22%? Lucina's does 18, but I don't have to tip it. I can actually just play up front and hit someone right in their face. So because of that, Lucina doesn't have the whole spacing part to her. I mean, she can still space just like Marth does, but she can be much closer to her opponent without having the drawback of not having a sweet spot. And because of that, not only do I think that Lucina is slightly better than Marth, because there are situations where Lucina could get a kill where Marth couldn't. Like here, well, I mean, at this percent, it doesn't matter if it's tipper or not, forward smash would kill. But, like, let's say Marth could probably kill with a tipper forward smash around 60%. Lucina doesn't have to tip. She could just walk up and forward smash you. Whether or not it's the tip, it wouldn't really matter. So, because of that, Lucina isn't restricted to very specific situations where she wouldn't get a kill, unlike Marth. Marth is in situations where if he doesn't tip, he won't get the kill. Lucina doesn't have that problem. She can be right up in your face and she's going to be doing just as much damage without the tipper. Another reason, because of that, I think Lucina is easier to play than Marth. She's much more beginner-friendly because Marth is a bit punishing if you're not good with landing the tipper. If you can't land the tipper as Marth, you're just better off playing Lucina, so you're not handicapping yourself. Aside from the tipper, the only difference between Marth and Lucina are obviously animations, taunts, and their voices, and the fact that they're two different people. But aside from that, they have the exact same moves, so if you can play one, you can pretty much play the other. It's just that with Marth, you have to space yourself properly to make sure you're landing those tippered attacks. But again, as I've stated before, Lucina does not have to worry about that. And that's pretty much going to cover Marth and Lucina. Now, there's actually one other thing I'm going to talk about, just because this is something I probably should be doing in the guides more. Now, explaining how these characters work does also give you an idea of how to deal with them, to an extent. There are some characters I will be going over in depth of how to deal with them just because they are very tough to deal with. One of them being sword characters like Marth and Lucina. Because, as I've said with Marth, they have a sword, a hitbox that isn't attached to their body, they can throw out attacks and be a lot safer. So how are you going to be dealing with sword characters? The answer, specifically for Marth and Lucina, is by shielding. Yes, they have Shield Breaker. However, if you shield and spot dodge correctly, you are actually relatively safe against their pressure. Marth and Lucina both, they can't just throw out attacks freely against shields. because if you shield the attack, you can grab or punish them. So your best option against Marth and Lucina, and sword characters in general, is just going to be to shield them and punish them. Another good thing to do against sword characters is honestly to learn how they play. Learn the playstyle of not just the sword characters themselves, but your opponent. You're going to be seeing sword characters usually doing one of two things, and that's using their short hop aerials. How are you going to beat them out? Well, first off, none of the sword characters in the game have a projectile except for... Actually, no, there's no sword character in the game that has a projectile. I could be wrong, but off the top... Oh, well, no, there's Corrin, although theirs is the weakest in the game, but I digress. So, they will have trouble dealing with people that have projectiles to an extent. They can play around it, but projectiles are a good way to deal with sword characters. In general, I suggest just learning how they play, just because that will give you an idea of how to deal with them. Again, as I've said, best way to deal with them is just through the use of your shield. Their neutral, Marth Lucina's neutral air, their forward air, it's not completely safe on shield if they don't space it properly. And the weakness that Marth has, him wanting to be a specific distance away, you can use that to your advantage. You're going to be seeing Marths dashing back and forth a lot. Like, they'll kind of dash forward, dash back and forward smash, just to try and get the tipper. So you can use that to your advantage and just run straight at Marth and hit him with an attack to punish him dashing back. Now, Lucina, as I've said, doesn't have that issue, so she's going to be playing a lot more up front. But because of that, she has to put herself closer to you, which slightly mitigates the advantage that she has as a sword character. So, again, the strengths that sword characters have can also be their weakness. Marth having his tipper, meaning he has to put himself a certain distance away from you, is also his weakness. He'll be wanting to keep himself that specific distance away from you, so you can use that to your advantage and rush him down. Lucina, she's going to be up in your face because she doesn't have to worry about the tipper. But because of that, you can shield her attacks and punish accordingly. Now, if you think Shield Breaker's coming, you have one of two options. Parry it, which is very risky, don't do that unless you're good at parrying, or just spot dodge. You can spot dodge by just pressing down while you're shielding. So if you see Shield Breaker coming, just spot dodge or roll out of the way. And that's pretty much going to be it for Marth and Lucina. Like I said, they're very similar, the only difference being that Lucina doesn't have to sweet spot. Like at that percent, I can just kill with forward smash. Marth, he probably wouldn't be able to if he didn't tip. So, Lucina's a bit more beginner friendly, easier to pick up, but she puts herself in harm's way a bit more than Marth because she doesn't have the tipper. She can still space the same as Marth. It doesn't matter, but you'll usually just see her a lot more up close and personal. But again, that's pretty much going to be it for Marth Lucina. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I was able to teach you a thing or two about how to use Marth Lucina effectively, as well as how to deal with them. I know sword characters can be fairly obnoxious. There's another pair of sword characters that I'll get to in a later guide, being Roy and Chrom. Sword characters, there isn't just a set way to deal with them, just because they're quick, and they can be a bit hard to punish if you don't know how to deal with them. So I can understand if there's a bit of frustration when it comes to dealing with sword characters, specifically Chrom. I'll go over Chrom soon, don't worry. But I'm just repeating myself at this point. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button and make sure to subscribe, as well as hit the notification bell so you can be notified of more Super Smash Bros. Ultimate guides coming in the near future. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.